King James was not really a fan of women, especially not when it came to the notion of female rulers. He believed that women suffered inherently from frailty, that they were the weaker vessels, and this made them much more susceptible to the allure of sin and evil and the devil and, of course, witchcraft, right? Even though Queen Elizabeth had been on the throne, was it 45 years? I believe 45, maybe 43, 45 years before he succeeded, and she had been absolutely revered and adored by her subjects. And during her reign, there was peace and stability and exploration, and in terms of religion, I want to say a bit more religious harmony, but calm anyway, was established. So she did a lot. She was also a patron of the arts, and there was really this blooming, this burgeoning of the arts and culture in her reign. She was fantastic for England. What a tough act to follow. And indeed, James did follow immediately after her, which was seen as a bit of a surprise, actually. Nobody was out celebrating in the streets. There were some apparently bonfires lit. This is coming from diaries and letters of the time. But there was no real revelry, no celebration. There was no, quote, shouting in the streets for King James. It was very muted. He had already been, he was still King of Scotland, but he wasn't seen as, I mean, Elizabeth had not named her heir. She'd learnt her lesson before. She did not want to name an heir, because this made the not only herself, but the person who she had named as succeeding her, the target of treachery, treason, attacks, people that did not want that person to be king or queen. Anyway, so he had to follow Queen Elizabeth. How would you follow somebody like this who's revolutionized so much, and she's brought financial stability, and there has been this support for her and the changes that have been wrought during her reign? How do you follow that? How do you feel that you are good enough? Well, interestingly, I do wonder if the reason why we have the witches anyway, because obviously we know he wrote demonology, everyone knows that contextually, and he was responsible for 2,500 people, mainly women, being executed, burnt, what have you, killed for being witches during his reign. It was so bloodthirsty. I wonder if, that's why we've got the witches, right? But Lady Macbeth, women, power, and then you have Lady Macbeth in this powerful position. And all too often, we are told in lessons, or when we're looking at context, when we're teaching students, or when you yourself as a student, you're reading about Lady Macbeth, we always say, ooh, it was a patriarchal society, and ooh, the Jacobeans, like the audience would have been really shocked to see this powerful lady bossing her husband around, because that's not what they did. I would like to offer a different interpretation. I'd like you to think about alternative interpretations as well yourself when you are writing about this in your exam. Would a Jacobean audience who've just had and experienced the reign of this really powerful woman who has transformed England and transformed religion and created this prosperity and this peace and this stability, there's the Spanish Armada as well, but anyway, I digress. Would they really have watched the play and thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, a powerful woman who speaks her mind, who is intelligent, who has the ability to manipulate using her brain and her words. Wow, my mind is blown. We simply cannot conceive of women being able to do this. I absolutely disagree with that notion that a Jacobean audience would have been so shocked to see a powerful woman on stage. Absolutely not. When they've just had Queen Elizabeth as their queen for 45, let's say 45, because I can't remember off the top of my head, years. There's no way that they would have been surprised to see a woman hold her own, be confident, be assertive, and be ruthless. No, because Queen Elizabeth had to be ruthless throughout. I couldn't. That's really hard to say. A tongue twister. Ruthless throughout her reign. That was the nature of the beast as a ruler. So I don't think Jacobean audiences would have been so shocked at seeing a female in a position of power and holding dominion over men, e.g., her husband in the play. Yes, all right, she breaks the mold for wives, generally speaking, because not all wives, women weren't expected to criticize, condemn, and go against their husbands. Not in that context. However, they've just seen their own queen hold her own on the world stage against male rulers. So they already know that women are capable of this. Okay, if they get a taste of power, what are they able to do with it? They are able to utilize the power and actually thrive. So I don't think the Jacobean audience would have been so shocked and disgusted and dismayed to see a woman in a position of power over men. Absolutely not. No. What I do think, however, is that, bearing in mind Queen Elizabeth was adored, and bearing in mind that she brought such equilibrium and balance and order to England at the time, I think James I, being not as celebrated, not as expected, nobody really welcomed him and celebrated him, I think that leads to a sense of anxiety as a ruler. I really do. And I wonder if Shakespeare, keen to kiss up to King James, quite frankly, because he was a hustler and he loved making money and was really good at making money, and he knew how to suck up with his plays and his sonnets. I believe portraying the witches and evil as an element within the play, one that Lady Macbeth succumbs to as well, feeds into King James's idea that women are more susceptible, women are frail, women are not fit to be rulers, you can't trust women. I absolutely believe that this was Shakespeare saying to King James, see, you're absolutely right. I concur with your idea that women are these frail vessels. Look at Lady Macbeth imploring the spirits and asking them to pour their poison into her ear and saying, come, spirits, unsex me here. And aligning herself with the supernatural. Of course she would. She's a woman. This is exactly what you say, King James. Yes, you're so right about women. So yes, I do think there's that element of presenting women as being seduced by the supernatural, but also the fact that we see a powerful woman, Lady Macbeth, her guilt, the fact that her power, and she seizes power and she controls her husband and she manipulates and she is a catalyst for the regicide. The fact that she is, in King James's opinion, overstepping what it means to be a woman, I think Shakespeare has her then deteriorate and unravel mentally and be punished for her overstepping, if you like, and her adoption of masculine traits and behaviours. I think that's deliberate, because I think what he is saying to King James is, yes, women are unfit, aren't they? They're not meant to be in positions of power. They aren't meant to be in control. Look what happens when women are. Look at how quickly she disintegrates mentally. Women can't handle that. They are frail. They aren't made to be dominant in the way that men are. And I do think that the representation, therefore, of women in the play absolutely, contextually supports King James's views. And why does he have those views? Why does he believe women are unfit to rule? Well, we don't completely know, but I do believe a lot of it might come down to his anxieties at having to succeed such a strong female ruler as Elizabeth I.